All right, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Edge. This is an RPG and gaming news podcast. My name is Hat.
And I'm Eric.
And today we took some advice from some of our listeners on our Discord channel. And we're going to be going through some of those questions over the couple of weeks. But the first one we're going to be addressing today is most anticipated RPGs of the year. Or basically, we're going to go over just some RPGs in general that are coming out in 2019 and what our thoughts are on that. And then also, there was a recent news article that came out this week regarding Xbox Live coming to the Switch. It was pretty interesting. So we have our thoughts on that. And then Square Enix has filed for some kind of patent, I believe, on which has led people to believe that the Secret Mana collection that was released in Japan, 3 games, may be coming to the West soon for the Switch. So that is all very exciting. But Eric, before we get into all of that, what have you been playing this week?
Not much. I finished Kingdom Hearts 3 a couple days ago, and I haven't had much motivation to get back on it. I fought what essentially the hardest super in-game boss, and I'm not saying this as someone who's an expert in the game, and I was on standard mode for context, but I beat that super boss on my first try, and I felt no struggle from it. And I was at level 60. I wasn't max level at all.
So if you were max level, it would have been just a cakewalk.
From what people tell me, if you get like max level with Ultima Weapon, you can take like 5 bars off of off of the boss with, just one combo.
Right.
So fortunately, the game lacks really hard in-game content. Like, at least in Kingdom Hearts 2, there was, like, before the final mix, with all those bosses included, they at least had Sephiroth, which had you on your toes. And, like, it was a really good challenge for that game if you're at a good relative level. This one, it's just, there's not much to think about. If you have basic guard skills and know how to dodge roll, it's just fine.
Yeah, I had a crazy busy this week, but this next upcoming week is going to be a lot lighter, and I'm going to be able to really polish the rest of this game off. But I have had a little bit more of some reservations with certain aspects of Kingdom Hearts 3 this week than I initially had previously. Still a great game. Really enjoy it. But yeah, there are some gameplay issues. I think I could criticize the game if I wanted to. So I'm interested to get into that next week for sure, and like more spoiler territory.
Yeah, I mean, I like the game overall. It's just there's some shortcomings to the game now that I've had time to reflect on it. That like hopefully they'll come out with DLC. Later. I think that's my biggest criticism, is that there isn't really much challenging content. A lot of the stuff you want to fill up Jiminy's Journal or Gummy Phone, whatever they call it now, is like just small, tedious work and not really so much battle content.
Well, and I'm curious if the Proud mode do you think that's actually, or maybe you've heard from people you've talked to, I haven't heard because I've been trying to avoid, spoilers and such, but is the Proud mode, is it simply they have more HP, or is the strategy or the artificial intelligence of the enemies smarter, or have you heard anything on that front?
I think they're a little more aggressive, but I think even in terms of, like, I'm eventually going to try Proud mode once I feel like doing a second playthrough of the game.
Yeah.
And from what people who have been playing Proud mode have told me is that in terms of Proud mode compared to other games, it's still easier. It is harder than standard mode, but I don't think to the point that it's that much of a dramatic difference. I think you just got to be on your toes a little more and just know a few more abilities. But I don't think the game still asks too much of you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's not like I'm enjoying it overall. Like I don't have really an issue with it too much, but like I said, there are some gameplay tweaks I think the game needs. But all in all, fantastic release.
Mhm.
You said you've been playing another Eden as well. I've been playing more of that this week. I'm still really enjoying it. Are you still thinking positively like you were last week on it?
Yeah. I'm starting to notice a little bit of grind elements here and there, but you can still progress through the story pretty smoothly
Uh huh.
for the most part. And I don't know how far I've gotten, but I've been doing every side quest I can before I proceed to the next part of the story.
Hmm.
And without trying to spoil it, I just got back to a certain point of time after you reach like the end of time
Hmm.
type of area that's in the game. So I've been that far. I think other people are like significantly farther than me, but
Yeah.
I've been playing it off and on. And of course, as usual, I've been getting on FF14 a little more after they brought in all the Shadowbringers announcement stuff in. Like they're bringing Gunbreaker, which is a new job. It's basically a Gunblade job,
I haven't
like
seen that.
Squall Gunblade job. Yeah, should look it up. It's a really cool looking job. They showed like a little video preview of it,
I'm looking it
and
up now.
yeah, and they it's essentially a job that puts like elemental bullets into the gunblade to do different effects, like be more offensive, be more defensive. And I'm predicting it's going to be more of an off tank
Hmm.
there's two kind of like all tanks can tank, just to say that. But there's some tanks that are like better at DPSing or being off tanking, which
Mm,
right now we have Paladin, Warrior, and Dark Knight. Paladin and Dark Knights are really good main tanks, and Warrior's a really good off tank because it has a lot of DPS potential for a tanking job. So you
right.
want them damaging as much as possible until they have to come in and tank the bosses. And I think Gunbreaker is probably going to fit into a similar role with that.
And this is an additional piece of DLC, or is this just like a patch that's coming in? Or
If you buy the Shadowbringers expansion, it's included.
okay,
They don't do separate DLC beyond cosmetic stuff. So as long as you're subscribed and you've purchased all the expansions, then anything that comes is like complemented with the um expansion you want.
awesome. That's really cool.
So I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to that. And what were you gonna say?
I mean, it looks very, very promising. I still got to jump back in. It's just been such a long time. Uh, I had a really, really good time with what I've played, and I put a fair amount of time into it. Definitely not as much as you, but the thing is, man, these games take so much time to really sink your teeth into, but it's definitely rewarding from what it sounds like and from what
Yeah,
I've played.
yeah. There's you're essentially playing three Final Fantasies, and there is enough side content in the game to fill up a whole other Final Fantasy. So if you did like everything, you're playing through like four Final Fantasy links worth of content.
Yeah, which is a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm someone who's been keeping up with it since it came out.
Yeah.
Version
It's
1.0 in 2010. So
yeah. You're definitely a veteran. I've been speaking with some family, and they've been wanting to. They're trying to talk me into getting on with like a weekly play session of Elder Scrolls Online because I guess some of them play that, and I am not having it. But I'm thinking like I need to just to like contribute and like be part of the family, I guess. So I've been looking at possibly playing some of that. I know it had some issues when it came out, so that could be on the horizons for me. Unfortunately, that might take away from me playing 14 in the future with the online game because that might take its place. But we'll
yeah,
see.
I haven't played Elder Scrolls since it first came out. I tried to, I tried it out just to see, and
Hmm.
just like, I mean, it felt like just a multiplayer Skyrim, to me. So I was already like, don't feel like doing this. And then,
or not that you don't feel like doing this, just feeling like I've done this before.
kind of. I don't know how much better the game has gotten over the years. It's probably obviously better than it was when it first came out. So I can't really say how it is today. I just personally didn't find any enjoyment from it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm feeling. Like, I'm not sure if I'll enjoy it, but maybe the fact that, there's family members I don't talk to very often and they all want to get on and have like a little chat session and stuff. It might be kind of fun for that regard. I see. Go ahead.
I can see it being fun if you're playing with family and friends.
Yeah, why not? I see Lane saying I kind of want to jump back in the FF14, but I feel like if I do, I'll never get through my backlog, which is kind of the way I feel. But I think it's one of those things where I'm going to jump back in like in short spurts and not try to like, okay, I'm going to jump in on Monday and I'm just going to like burst through it until like the very end. I might get burnt out. So I think the correct way, and I'm going to try to implement this myself, is just maybe jump in for a week and then go do something else, come back to it. I think that's the best way to enjoy it for me personally. And then go ahead.
Yeah, it is a pick up and put down type of deal. The whole story's interconnecting though, from the very start to the point we are right now. So it's kind of like going through a video game version of a TV series.
Mm-hmm.
Like just events just keep happening one after another and then after another. Like these poor characters don't get time to really breathe. The next evil is always popping.
It's a very dangerous place. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're getting the Shadowbringers in particular. We are getting into a really big point of the Zodiac arc, like where we're starting to find out the root of all this evil that's been going about the land, like between us and the Garland Mauled Empire. Like there's some crazy story content related stuff happening, and it's something you need to get yourself absorbed into. But if you get through more of the MMO stuff that A Realm Reborn is kind of known for, it was that one's a good story also, but it's a little rough in terms of trying to balance story and MMO aspects. But about the time we get to Heavensward, they found that balance. They found out how to make it feel like a Final Fantasy with the MMO elements being minimal.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that only makes sense because, A Realm Reborn, they were under a lot of pressure. I mean, they were trying to basically rebuild the game from the ground up in only like 2 years. They're trying to figure out all the gameplay issues the original game had and try to polish that out and like rebuild them. And so like the fact that like they weren't able to completely focus on the story, not to say that the story is bad or anything, but like when you say, well, hey, the story's pretty good, but the later stuff is a lot better, that only makes sense to me because they're able to focus solely on the story. I mean, obviously there's some gameplay, but the core foundation of it is already there. They don't have to start from ground zero. They just have to come up with two more classes and then come up with a story for the expansion and the world around it. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. It's something that just keeps getting better and better the more you get into it. And on top of that, the side quests themselves are like major story arcs that are really cool. Like the one we had for Stormblood that concluded was the Return to Evilise, which introduced the Viera race, which is also going to be a new race
really cool.
Shadowbringers.
That's really cool. I remember you showing me that. I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's going to be no male variant though, but there will be Viera.
Well,
yeah, so
I think we all know that there are only female Viera.
Yeah, no male bunnies in this one, but it's like the Stormblood had a whole side arc of trying to find out the true story of what happened to Evilise. Like it's like a retreading of Final Fantasy Tactics, but you're like more of the historian. Like you're joining the historian and trying to find out the truth of what happened. The Evilise.
You're not obviously reliving the entire game.
No, you're finding out and retelling events, but it's cool. Like the last dungeon I don't want to spoil it, but the last bosses, if you're a Final Fantasy Tactics fan, the bosses in that dungeon, which is called the Orban Monastery, which is technically the final dungeon of Final Fantasy Tactics. It's all spectacular. Like, because I love the Tactics story so much that I could
just pays major tribute.
Yeah, and it just pays such a major tribute, especially since it's directed by Matsuno, the creator of Final Fantasy Tactics. So I guess he would know his stuff, or to say.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I'm excited to eventually jump back in. We'll have to see when that happens. Dante says I want that Dragon Quest MMO, and I think Eric's been foaming at the mouth over that for quite some time. So
for years. How long's the Wii been out? That long.
Yeah.
Well, it came out in 2010.
Still, man, that was 9 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, we still don't have it. We don't have Phantasy Star Online 2 either. That's still slated for 2013. Sega never officially canceled it.
Stuff like that just makes me feel like that's free money almost. I mean, obviously it's not free. There's developmental costs, but it just makes sense. Like, why would you not complete that?
Yeah, Lane, I heard rumors of Final Fantasy Tactics coming to Steam, and I don't see why they wouldn't either. That
makes sense.
I mean, not to sound cynical, but they would probably port the PC version. I mean, not the PC, the mobile version.
Yeah.
To PC.
Unfortunately.
I mean, the mobile version's good. I think actually the biggest problem I have with the mobile version is touch controls. So if you get like controller access back to it, it's essentially the Ward Alliance PSP one, just with better frame rate.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. That's one of those things where, like, again, like I just don't know why they wouldn't just release that on Steam. That just makes sense to me. I mean, especially since there's no real like super easy way to buy. Well, I guess besides the mobile version, which like you said, not everyone's going to be a fan of. So there needs to be like a current generation version of that game that you can play.
You can download the PS1 version and the PSP version on the Vita.
Yeah, but I mean, the Vita's not like really supported anymore. I mean, like, it's just like, come on, just release like an HD version and just like have it available on the PS4 and have it available on Steam, and then that's it.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about it.
I think PC and Switch is probably inevitability for that game.
Yeah, but anyways, so that's a little bit of what we've been playing. I've been playing the same games as Eric, obviously for the most part. And next week, assuming everything goes to plan, I think we should be good for a Kingdom Hearts 3 spoiler discussion podcast. I think by then, most of our listeners that are interested in that would have finished the game for sure, because we definitely don't want to spoil the game for anyone. But let us know what your thoughts are, either on our Discord server or in the comments of this video, and we'll be able to kind of read those and address them while we're reviewing the episode or reviewing the game, and kind of spark some conversation. But we have our first article or topic of the day, and we're going to be going through 2019 RPGs. Now, I pulled up a list from RPG Site, a great website. You all should check it out. And I'm going to pull it up on the screen here, but they have an entire list of everything that's coming out in 2019. It's a lot. We won't be able to get through all like 150 games on here. Otherwise, I don't think me and Eric will get to go to sleep tonight. But we're going to go through some of them and pick out some of the highlights that we are excited about. And if you guys see anything that you're excited about and you want to let us know in the comments, we'll definitely talk about that if we can. But obviously, January has already passed, so we saw Kingdom Hearts 3, we saw Another Eden, we saw Tales of Vesperia come out, and there's a lot of other games that were mentioned that are supposed to come out or were supposed to come out in Japan in January, and most of them I haven't heard of, really. There's a lot of obscure RPGs on here. Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet Complete Edition. I don't know if that ever came out, but apparently it was supposed to come out January 18th. I don't really know too much about that, but that's one that stands out as a kind of popular series. But going into February, I'm looking at this. Yeah, probably best that way we can both comment. Going into February, we have some options here, right? So we have Nier Automata's Game of the Year edition that's coming out on February 26th. I believe that's according to this list. Anthem, which I have zero interest in playing.
I have zero interest also. I wasn't interested in Destiny. I'm sure not interested in this one either.
The reality is that the game looks cool, the concept looks cool, but like we already saw that they're already implementing like microtransactions like to crazy levels, right? Like there's like $20 skins and stuff like that. Like it's just it's obnoxious, and I think that type of stuff would just ruin the game for me. So that's the main reason why I'm not interested in it.
I need to wait and see what happens with that game, because I don't know if it's going to get the same scrutiny that Destiny did. Like people are going to find out their EXP throttling, or they're hiding like stuff that should be free behind like paywalls, stuff like that. I mean, it is BioWare that made it, so I want to give it a little benefit of the doubt, but I just want to see how it plays out before I even remotely think of trying it.
Well, the thing, yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. From some of the early gameplay that I've seen, and actual gameplay from like actual people, not not like a trailer or anything like that, the gameplay looks really, really good. It looks very, very fluid. So it's not that I wouldn't be interested in it later. It's just not something I'm necessarily looking forward to right now. So I think that's the best way to put it. Let's keep going here. And if you see anything on there that you want to bring up,
I mean, God Eater and Etrian Odyssey came out. I've never played those games, but I know they're popular games with other people. They just came out, and they've been getting good reviews. Not like stellar reviews, but they're getting good reviews from what I saw. Like it's a lot of 7.5 to 8.5s with these games. So if you're a fan of them, I think they're probably gonna be like okay to people who've never been into the games, and people who are into the series will probably enjoy them just fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking up on Amazon right now, and I mean it's got 5-star review for Etrian Odyssey Nexus for Nintendo 3DS. So I mean that's an option.
It's a dungeon crawler type game. So if you're into those type of games, I think Etrian Odyssey is probably one of the like best ones JRPG wise.
Now I'm gonna go ahead and skip March because there doesn't appear to be anything at all coming out in March that I'm interested in.
I mean, there's the Division 2 coming out in March, but I didn't even play the first one. But I guess that's another. I guess I'm thinking Division 2 and Anthem are probably going to compete with each other because their setup is a lot of the same.
Yeah.
So that'll probably be Ubisoft competing with EA, then I guess Activision is trying to compete with what's left of Destiny 2.
Let's check.
But
so I'm seeing in the comments there's some suggestions here. There's this game that I don't even know how to pronounce.
Yokai Watch.
Yokai, well, yeah. So this
is level 5's answer to Pokemon, essentially.
Yeah. This doesn't look like a bad game, just doesn't look like something I'd be interested in. But hey, it's not my cup of tea, but clearly some people like it, so I'm not gonna hate on anyone.
It's built primarily for the younger audience. The funny thing is we actually had
surprise me.
Yeah, we actually had a Final Fantasy 14 crossover with it. A little ghost that's from that game I have as a mount. It's like a little ghost go-kart.
Yeah.
But besides that, I have the only knowledge I know. It's like their own take on Pokemon.
Interesting. I did see also. I was looking at the Magic Scroll Tactics. apparently this game is already out, but it seemed kind of like an interesting concept, and that like it's basically just like sounds like a tactical based turn-based RPG game, but it's 2D side-scrolling tactical RPG. I haven't played it, but it does look like a unique idea. It might be worth a shot if you kind of want to try something out unique, but it definitely looks pretty cool. Going from there, let's see here.
April seems like the month of ports.
Yeah. We got Darksiders War Mastered Edition. Well, Final Fantasy X 10-2 remaster. That's going to be probably the biggest thing for April that I'm looking forward to is Final Fantasy X and then the Final Fantasy 12. We talked about Dragon's Dogma a little bit in a previous podcast episode, and that's a game I haven't really messed with, but you've talked about a little bit, and I'm not sure if I would dive in April because I have Zodiac Age coming out on the 30th and Final Fantasy X coming out on the 16th. So I just think that that's really going to get swallowed up by those two games, my time. So I think I would probably not buy that then because I want to save my money because I probably wouldn't get to it for a while, to be honest.
I think I might be the opposite because I've
You've played those other games?
Well, I've gone through
you've played all of them
also, but 10-2 she just recently went through. And and I did play Zodiac Age not too long ago. That came out in 2017, I think. 2017, 2017, I think. So it hasn't been that long since I've played 12. Darksiders I played recently also to get ready for the third game that came out recently. Darksiders 1 is a great game. And if it's the right price, if it's $20 or below, I highly recommend getting it.
It's not. I highly doubt.
It is everywhere else.
I don't know.
But I got Darksiders 1 and 2 for $5 on a sale. But that was obviously a sale to do that all the time.
Yeah, but if we're talking about the Switch, like it's going to be they like to charge an arm and a leg for stuff.
Oh, the Switch fee.
Yeah,
maybe, but we'll see. But that's a great game. It's a mixture of Zelda and God of War, and it takes place like past the apocalypse, and you're one of the four horsemen. I mean, it's a great game. Probably something that'll be really fun on portable device also. But yeah, besides that, I don't see anything worthwhile looking in March besides ports. I mean, not March, April.
Yeah, so let's keep going then, because I'm in agreement with you.
May's more, not much.
May's like obscure stuff I've never heard of. Let me click on one just to see. Click on. Hopefully, this isn't some like pornography game. Yeah. Okay. So, Atelier Lalua, the Scion of Arland.
Atelier Lalua.
Yeah, this is like very pink writing. I see lots of Japanese girls in skirts. Turn-based. Lots of girls in dresses. This seems like I'm actually surprised how polished the artwork is, but this definitely is not my cup of tea at all.
Yeah, that's for the very JRPG audience.
Like this is like this. When I tell people like I like JRPGs, like I always have to clarify like I don't like games like this. I shouldn't say I don't like a game that I haven't played, but something tells me like this wouldn't be one of my favorites.
I don't see anything from this month I'm purchasing either.
All right, so let's go to
RPG wise at least.
Okay, so June we have the Elder Scrolls Online. They're coming out with, I'm assuming this is some kind of expansion, so I might try that out because I'm going to be playing that game. Persona's the Q2. I don't know. I haven't really gotten into those games, but we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, I never played them either, but I know a lot of people said the first one was really good. So I think if you like the first one, you'll like the second one, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't play these. These are like crossovers between like different Persona games. Like I think the first one was like a mix of 3 and 4, and this one they're going to mix 5 in also.
So that could be kind of cool. I don't know, June timeframe, I might be a little more open. I feel like that might be the time frame that I would dive into something like Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen, because by then, I've kind of played through those other games and I'm kind of like in a lull a little bit. But that might be a good time frame for me to play that game. So I don't know if I'll really jump into this, but maybe if people are really buzzing about it. Warhammer Chaos Bane, does that appeal to you?
I never really got into the Warhammer series, so I don't have much to say about it.
Me either. Let's move on. We got Shenmue 3 coming out on August 27th.
Yes.
That's something you're excited about.
That is a must buy. I don't care if it's really good or really bad. We got to know how the story ends, because Shenmue 2 came out 2002, I think. Mm-hmm. And we have been waiting that long for the conclusion of this story.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
We need a conclusion to this. I don't care if it's a good one or bad one. It just needs to happen. I'm glad it finally is.
This looks really cool, though.
Yeah. It kind of looks like it's getting like indie level development support.
You mean that in a positive way or a bad way?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Kickstarter game, but it is supported by PS4 also. If you notice, it's just PS4 and PC, not Xbox One, which is weird because at least here in America, Shenmue 1 came out on Dreamcast, Shenmue 2 came out on Xbox. Now 3 is going to come out on PS4/PC. Now, we did get HD remasters of 1 and 2 for the PS4. So there is that. It's just funny. It just jumps 3 completely different companies for its next title.
Yeah, it's all over the place. Those remasters really got some mixed reviews. You had people that really, really enjoyed them, and then other people that maybe never really got into the games back when they came out that really didn't see what all the hubbub was about. So,
I mean, they're definitely a product of their times.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think this game is going to be particularly interesting, because this is going to be hopefully a more modern take on it,
Yeah. And hopefully they just take what worked well and just improve upon it, not try to take something outdated and bring it back trying to be nostalgic. I don't think that'll work out well for it if they do that. I think the people I've seen behind it sound like they're aware of that. I'm still someone who enjoyed Shenmue 1 and 2, and if I played them again, I would still enjoy them. Right. But I think it's a game that might be a little hard for newcomers to get into. People who are more used to like modern age type of stuff. But what I love about those games so much is they feel so culturally rich. Like, I don't know how accurate they are to Japan and Hong Kong, but I felt really immersed in those games, traveling around the city, getting a job, talking to the people there. It felt like I was getting enlightened by doing this. And I look back at it today, and the execution seems kind of questionable. But at the time when this was like pretty much standards for video games, like I really got myself immersed into it, and I really enjoyed them.
So hopefully, with this more modern take on it, more fans will come into the series, and maybe that will kind of help them get past some of the more archaic design features of the older games and really push the series into, I don't want to say a new direction, but maybe some more games can come out. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, hopefully they'll take some cues from Yakuza series, like the more recent ones, on how they handle this, because Yakuza is essentially at least concept-wise, like how the game is structured, it is a spiritual successor to Shenmue in a way. So if you're a Yakuza fan and willing to deal with a little more archaic elements, then I think it would be easy enough to jump into Shenmue 1 and 2.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's supposed to be coming out on August. Let me see again. August 27th, 2019. At least that's what it says in Steam. So we'll have to see if that comes out actually on that date. But I'm pretty sure it's coming out this year for sure. I don't think we're going to have any kind of issues with that. Let's keep going here. Next, we have Spring Early 2019 RPGs. So these are games in which We don't really have a specific release date yet, but they're most likely coming out in 2019. We just don't know when.
Some good ones in here.
Yeah, so Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, I don't care.
Everybody.
Yeah. I know probably one of the bigger ones on here is a Fire Emblem Three Houses. I watched the trailer for that, and I think it looks really, really cool. I think it looks really good, but I know there's some hardcore Fire Emblem fans that are kind of in the middle on it for various reasons. But how do you feel about it, Eric?
I'm excited for it. I'm kind of glad they're adding more RPG elements to it, because most of the games are like pick a part of the map and just proceed to the next battle, and then like just manage your crew on the backside, which is good. They execute it very well in these Fire Emblem games, but I feel like the RPG element added to it, where you can actually walk around towns and travel to places, and then like when you get into battle, you engage in like the usual Fire Emblem manner, where you're on a board like that. I think that approach may help expand more and make it even more mainstream than they already accomplished with Awakening and the Echo series. And they did dabble on this a little bit with, I think it's called Shadows of Valencia. It's a remake of the second Fire Emblem that came out in Japan, where you could travel. You still went on the board, but you could travel into dungeons with a movable character. And when you hit an enemy with your sword, or if the enemy hits you, then you like go off like a normal RPG, like into a battlefield screen.
Sure.
And you went through like that. And I thought, that's a good concept. I mean, that's something I actually enjoyed about that game also, is they added something like that. It doesn't feel intrusive, so I hope they implement that in this game very well.
Yeah, it looks really, really polished from what I'm looking at. So I think it's going to be a good game. I don't know if it will be a day one purchase for me. What about you?
It will for me. I love the Fire Emblem.
We'll have to see. I'm going to see what the reviews are. I might jump in. Jump in there.
We got Grandia HD. I forgot that was supposed to come out in December, or like winter 2018.
Grandia 2, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even hear about it getting delayed. It was just like, I'm just remembering it now.
And that's kind of weird that a HD remaster would get delayed. Like usually that's kind of unusual, but I don't know how to think about that. But anyways, yeah, it's still slated to come out. I guess it's coming out in 2019 now. So
that's something I really want to play on my Switch. Like,
that will be a day one purchase for me for sure.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they're going to port Grandia to the PC version, the HD PC version over. But I'm still curious what they're going to do with Grandia 1. Like, are they going to HD remaster that at all? Because if you play it on the PlayStation, it's definitely...
well, it says Grandia plus Grandia 2 HD remaster, so...
Yeah, so I don't know what they'll do with that. Will they just, like, put in the 4x3 and have, like, little, character designs on the borders? Or will they actually HD remaster it and, like, upscale it to widescreen and HD, that type of deal? I'm really interested to see that. That's a game I really do want to play on my Switch, because I enjoy Grandia 1 and 2 when they came out. So I'd love to venture through those again.
Yeah, me too. Definitely. I know it's probably some of the biggest ones on here for our audience is going to be The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel, Decisive Edition for the PS4, then Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 2, Relentless Edition for the PS4. These are games that I have not gotten into at all, but if you guys have not heard, I did purchase at the suggestion of one of our listeners. I think it was Joker who let us know that The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky was $10 on Steam. It was on sale. So I bought that. I haven't played it yet, but I plan on playing it soon. I might stream the first part of it. But I'm going to play that game, and maybe if I get really into it, I'll go through some of the others. I don't know when these are coming out, but those might be a contender for me, depending on the release date and how much I like the other games in the series. I know these ones are supposed to be much, much different though. So I totally realize that this might be a completely different type of game, blah, 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 blah. But regardless, it's in the same world. So might be a contender for me.
Oh, Matt just brought this up. I didn't
Uh-oh.
see it till now. He said, "What about Left Alive, which is set in the front mission world?" I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting that game definitely. I don't know
When's
if
that
that
coming out?
February 28th, end of this
Mm.
month. I forgot about it. I thought that was coming out later this year. Good catch. Thank you, because I did want to play that game. It has artwork from the Metal Gear. Who did the art concept art for the Metal Gear
Mm-hmm.
series, and the gameplay looks great. It's like it kind of reminds me of Metal Gear in a way. It's like a mix of front mission Metal Gear from what I saw, and it has like 3 stories it tells. I don't think it falls into the RPG category,
Yeah.
but I think in terms of action, it I think it falls more under that. But I am excited for that. Thank you for reminding me about
Yeah. It looks pretty cool. Let's see here. Summer mid 2019 RPGs. Final Fantasy 14 Shadowbringers, which you've talked about. I don't see anything on there that I'm really crazy about. We got Pokemon coming to the Switch. That's going to be exciting. I'll probably pick that up.
Get myself into some Pokey. There's rumors of a Nintendo Direct happening this month. Now that you bring up Pokemon Switch,
I feel like there's always rumors of that.
yeah. But there's rumors of them talking about Metroid Prime Trilogy Switch.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Mario Maker 2, and potentially showing off a little bit of Pokemon, which I think that one's a little more far fetched.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think all of them are a little far fetched, but Pokemon one especially. I
Well,
think they'll probably save that for June. If I was a guessing man, I'd say they save that for E3 when the most people are watching.
yeah, well, especially since it's kind of up in the air, like what they're going to be presenting for E3, and they definitely want to have a surprise for E3. And Metroid Prime, that is obviously not going to be something they're showing off this year. So I think Pokemon's probably going to be their biggest draw, and I would think that they would want to surprise everyone with that at E3. I would assume, anyways.
Yeah, even though I haven't played the Pokemon games in a really long time, I'm still excited to see what they decide to do with this. Will they do something like Pokemon Go with that type of style, or will they like do some really cool cell shading type deal where they try to make it look like the anime as much as possible, or something like that? I want to see how they decide to evolve it, and if they evolve it to a way that's like really appealing,
Mm-hmm.
you might even get me back into it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like we don't even really know what direction they're going to take it, and it's Nintendo. They're probably not going to. It's probably not going to be the same basic thing. They like to change things up. They like to make things different. So it's probably going to be something we haven't even thought of. So it's a good point.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I like being just completely surprised.
Yeah. We got Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3, which I know a lot of people are really excited about. So that'll be exciting for some of our audience members. I'm sure they're going to want us to talk about it. Unfortunately, I don't know if I want to jump in at the third game of that point, but we'll see. Monster Hunter World Iceborne, assuming that's a expansion. Yeah, that's what it says, an expansion. You think you're going to pick that up?
Which one? Say that again.
Monster Hunter World Iceborne. It's an expansion for Monster Hunter World.
Maybe. I've been looking to get back into the game, but I feel like I've jumped off ship too long for me to catch up. So
Yeah.
I may eventually get it down the line. Probably not the first day.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I am seeing that's kind of cool, right? It says other RPG scheduled for 2019. There's a big list here, but some interesting ones. So it says on here that there's Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 coming to the PS4.
Not only
Xbox.
They're from what someone linked it to me the other day. They are apparently releasing like every like Baldur's Gate related content media,
Yeah,
or
so
like
all the expansions and such.
and everything, like including like Neverwinter Nights in
Oh
there,
wow. Oh
like
wow.
all in one package.
I really got into Baldur's Gate, particularly 2 when I was younger. I played the crap out of that on the PC. Like it was a lot of fun. I really really enjoyed it. I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to work on the PS4 because I'm so used to playing that with the mouse though.
Yeah,
But I'm sure they'll make it work.
I played the only one I played is 2, and I enjoyed that one. That was a good game.
Yeah, it's really 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 deep. I really enjoyed it. Um, some other
Bloodstained.
Yeah, Bloodstain. I know you're all excited about that. Probably because the way you've been talking about it, I'll probably end up picking it up.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It's 2019. There's still no release date for it, and they got, I believe they got WayForward to join in now and help with the game.
Mm.
So the for
What's the
context,
obstacle?
I think
Well, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
think the realities of making a game without a big company backing it up.
I just wondered, like, if there was, if they've been transparent about some of the development issues. Is it like a manpower thing? Are they just having issues with bugs, or is it
Well,
the game engine, or probably all of the above?
they released the beta,
Hmm.
and while the beta itself was good, there was a lot of criticisms, like well, well deserved criticisms of the game. Like the game, despite being like they decided to do like a 2.5D type of deal,
Hmm.
like it's still the graphics don't look great. Like they don't look as great as they could be.
Hmm.
So they said they want to go back. They want to fix how the lighting works in a lot of places, so the graphics look better when you compare the character to the background. And they said this is like the biggest Castlevania like map they've ever made.
So,
Also, so I think Way Forward they brought in to help like give tips or like let them know what they should do and the certain things, because these are the people who made the Shantae series, and the
mhm,
Shantae series is really good. I
yeah.
enjoyed those games, and so they have pretty good knowledge on how to make, at least on the technical side, like
Mm.
a really polished Metroidvania type game.
Oh, some of the I mean, this is just my observation, but I'm just watching the trailer here, and it seems to me like some of the attack animations and such. This is an older trailer. Some of the attack animations. I don't. They look a little rough to me. Also, like they could be a little bit smoother. So I can see what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's some problems to iron out. Like even in the cutscenes, like
Hmm.
there are times where like their mouth isn't like really lining up with what they're saying. So
Hmm.
like while the dialogue is still going, their mouth either stopped, or after they're done talking, their mouth is still going. So people pointed that out, and they said they want to go back in and um change some things around so the localization sounds like it is like, where it should be, or
Hmm.
it looks better in quality.
Yeah.
There is that, and there's some minor things also, like how like on the technical side where like one weapon is way over P and another one doesn't really work well at all. No one likes to use it. Those type of things that are pretty typical in the beta. I forgot what some of the technical issues were, but for the most part, the game ran pretty smoothly.
Hmm.
It's just when I played it, it didn't feel like anything spectacular.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Does
another thing they brought way forward in. It's like, how can we just like
blow it out of the park.
blow it
Yeah.
out of the park?
Yeah. I see some of the comments, not to change subjects here, but to go back on a previous subject, there's a little bit of discussion in our comments about Pokemon. It says, Dante says, this might be the first time I don't buy Pokemon day one. If it's like Let's Go, Pokemon Let's Go, then no. But then Lane says, Pokemon Breath of the Wild. Dante says, LOL, that would be neat. I wish I could make Pokemon Nature's Optional. Um, if they did make like a open world Pokemon Breath of the Wild style game, I think that would really work for a Pokemon game. Like I think that would be really really cool.
It can work, but I think you would have to compromise a lot of the simplistic elements that Pokemon.
And I don't have a problem with that because one of the biggest criticisms of Pokemon. Is it Pokemon Go VV? Pokemon Go Pikachu? I think I think I'm getting the name slightly wrong. I apologize, but one of the biggest criticisms of that game was that it's too easy, right? And their fan base is growing, like they're getting older. Like I mean, I know they're still trying to appeal to the younger children, so it can't be as difficult as Breath of the Wild. Not that Breath of the Wild is particularly obscene, but I think if they went that route, I think they could make it work, and I think it would be really, really successful.
I think that's the biggest thing that puts me in the doubting section for something that that ambitious, is just for the fact that this is a game ultimately made for children. I mean, there's a lot of Pokemon veterans who grew up with the series, but at the same time, there's new generations that are coming in. Like the TV shows and the movies and whatever comes out are still really popular with children. Like even like nieces and nephews and
Mm-hmm.
uh well, more like the older one. It's like
I know what you
Pokemon is
mean.
still a thing.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, because I have 3 nephews, and the youngest one's like 6, right? And every time I talk to him, all he talks about is Pokemon. And like the first time he brought Pokemon up, it blew my mind because I'm 30 and I used to talk about Pokemon when I was a little bit older than him. So I just assumed that like Pokemon was one of those things to like young kids these days. It's like, I don't know, watching Mr. T was when I was a kid, like, oh, this is some old thing that like people used to be into. Like, but it is still very, very popular. I could see them not wanting to give up on that cash grab. But I mean, they don't have to go all in Breath of the Wild. They could just go that direction and still keep it a little bit more simplistic, a little bit more contained. So that way it's not, little Timmy's not overwhelmed with what to do. But
I
um,
think I think if you still keep it in a linear fashion, but
make it
um,
feel open world.
yeah, give you the feeling of exploration on the way to your set destination. I think that would be a good compromise. Keeping simplicity and making it feel nice and open for people who want more out of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good way they could go. Looking forward on this list, though, we obviously have Crosscode coming to the PS4 and Switch. We talked about that in one of our previous podcasts. Very, very excited about that because I have wanted this game to come out on the Switch for a long time. And Eric, you were talking about how the developer stated that like a Switch release was very unlikely until it actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty crazy.
All that.
Yeah. Um,
uh, looking through
we,
the list here.
yeah, we also have all. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered. That is supposed to come out sometime this year, also. And didn't it
I
mention there would be online support for it?
Yeah, that's what I've heard, which is kind of cool because from what I've heard of that game, I've never played it. I've just, being a Final Fantasy fan, I've heard people talk about it a lot, and the reception for these games are kind of hit or miss. But everyone has stated that they're a lot funner to play with other people. So I think having online support, it was a fantastic idea to revisit these games because apparently they're not as much fun to play single player.
The biggest criticism I have of Crystal Chronicles, and I'm kind of disappointed they brought it back, was that chalice.
Mm.
And I understand the point of the chalice. The point of the chalice was so your teammates wouldn't run off by themselves and it wouldn't cause any technical
Mm-hmm.
issue. So they came out with the chalice, which I think was an awful solution to
Can you
it.
give some background information to people that haven't played Crystal Chronicles?
In the game, there is, if I remember correctly, there was a concept called miasma, where if you step into the miasma, your character starts getting hurt or poisoned, and your health goes down. And you start dying. So what you do is, in single player, I believe your Moogle can hold it,
Mm-hmm.
but in multiplayer, one of the 4 party members has to hold that chalice that keeps you in a protective field. So while you're traversing through the area, you have to have at least one person hold it while the other 3 fight. So basically, it's 3 people have fun, except and one person just sits there with the chalice. Now, granted, they can put the shells down and help out, but a lot of times you want the characters to move, so someone's got to pick it up. So at most, it becomes a tedious task. And I think now, since they're getting rid of the on, or there's less technical limitations they were in the past, and they were serious about a remaster, they could have taken the shells out because future Crystal Chronicle games for the DS took it out. It didn't need it anymore. They found
Mm,
ways around it. So I was kind
yeah,
of hoping they'd do it for this, but I saw in the previews that the shells is still there. So I was like, ugh. I mean, it's
yeah,
still a fun game. Like the game feels real good, and the boss battles are pretty fun. But that chalice was the thing I just never could get behind,
yeah.
even when it first came out.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think that the Crystal Chronicles games had enough of a following to really, and I don't think you were implying this, but to warrant, redesigning some of the features or taking stuff out and streamlining some of the gameplay, like we saw with Final Fantasy 12, for example. So it makes sense to me that they're just kind of basically just directly porting the game. But we also have obviously the other Final Fantasy games coming out this year on the Switch, so that's going to be really exciting. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that over E3 with particularly Final Fantasy 7. I think we'll probably get a release date for the Switch version then, because I haven't seen one yet. Have you?
No, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be ports of the Steam/mobile versions of
Yeah,
them.
I don't think they're going to do anything special.
So I mean, it's gonna be cool when they come out on them, but I'm not particularly excited for them. I may get FF7 on it. Final Fantasy 9 works so well on my tablet that I actually don't feel compelled to get it on the Switch.
Man, Final Fantasy 9 is my favorite game though. I will buy that on every.
It's my favorite Final Fantasy also, but I'm not obsessed with it enough that I'm going to buy so many different forms of it.
Yeah, nope, I'm buying it, and we were kind of talking about this on our Discord server. Uh, I will buy Final Fantasy 7 also on day one just because I'm a fan of that game, and I'm going to contribute to Square's laziness of just directly porting crap to, to everything instead of actually streamlining the game and making a version like people would actually want to play. Hopefully, they do something like they did with the PS4 version, where that's an actually good port. I felt like, but I'm most excited to see if we are going to get uh, either a limited edition, physical edition of these games, or something like that. Because if they have a Final Fantasy 9 and Final Fantasy 7 physical edition for the Switch, and I'm focusing on the Switch here because I don't have an Xbox One. If it's on for the Switch, I'm definitely going to pick that up on day one for sure. Absolutely,
Hmm.
because I just want those.
Yeah, I'm looking
Um,
through the list here. Then we got a few things for Western RPG players, for like I think like an expansion for Pillars of Eternity 2, then Planescape Torment coming.
that's surprising too. Planescape Torment. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we got those coming out later.
Tales of Cristoria for that's mobile. No one cares about that. I shouldn't say that. I don't care about that. Let's see here.
We'll see. I mean, I saw the preview of that,
Mm-hmm.
and they're definitely aiming for dark and mature, and that like they're
Really?
using all the reds and the blacks to display the preview of their game, and um, it looks promising, but we gotta wait and see how it's structured. I mean that's the thing with mobile games. It's like you got to be cautious. You're going to get one time you're going to get another Eden, which is a fantastic game, which I still recommend everyone go out and download and play. And then you are going to get the obvious this is a crossover to make us money type of game, which comes off more like an amusement park slot machine. Like a lot of the Final Fantasy free to play games that came out or stuff like that. So just got to see how it
This
works out.
looks what I'm watching on YouTube. It actually looks kind of interesting.
Hmm. Like I said, it's potentially interesting, but you got to be cautious. Got to wait and see how see what it they plan to do with it.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. We got Vampire coming to Switch, which is kind of cool. Um, it's actually kind of surprising. and
I never
RPGs.
played that. What is it?
If I remember correctly, it came out on the PS4 and PC, and it's about this. Here, I'm just gonna pull it up on here. Vampire. It's about basically it's from what I understand, it's about you play as a vampire, obviously, but you can only come out at night. But you live in a town, and you have to like pick people to abduct or whatever. But also at the same time, you're solving like side quests and stuff like that, and it's kind of interesting because you have to stay alive, so you have to try to pick who you're gonna kill basically, but you're still a good spirit at heart. You're just trying to stay alive. From what I've read on the game, it's one of those games where I was interested in the concept a little bit, but once it came out, it ended up getting a little bit lower reviews than I had hoped, and I just didn't pick it up. But I'm surprised that it's coming to the Switch. That's surprising to me.
Which port when?
Yeah. We also have, kind of round this off here, Romancing Saga 3. This is RPGs that might release in 2019. From what I saw, it's going to be a HD remaster, and that looks really good. I never played this game originally, but I know that most people felt like the story was kind of lackluster. Well, not the story, the kind of the character development was a little lackluster, but graphically it looks awesome, and the music looks sounded really, really good too. So I think this is honestly something that I'm interested in picking up when it comes out on the Switch.
Romancing Saga series, you really need an acquired taste. It's kind of a non-linear fashion, and the narrative is just like, I don't know, it's not linear in any sense, and it's not very compelling either. But gameplay wise, it's got its perks to it. Romancing Saga 3 is a little bit better on that, but not so much. Saga Scarlet Grace, I think, is a mobile saga coming out that's going to be brand new. It's not going to be a port of anything. So I'll be interested to see how that turns out. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. This is this is like an action RPG game that's supposed to come out. I think they confirmed a Western release, which is interesting because the original game it comes from is a mobile game that never made it here in America. There's means to play it, and which is mostly if you have access to the Japanese store rather than iOS on Google, and you download the game. I think there's an option to turn it on to English, so you can play it that way, but you have to go through those means to do it.
This is like a offline single player game.
No, it's a mobile game, like free to play game, but it has artwork from creators like Akihiko Yoshida, when he did like Final Fantasy 12 and 14 and Tactics. He did a lot of artwork for it, and it's one of the most popular free-to-play games in Japan. It's like one of the top dogs.
It looks interesting. So it looks pretty polished for what you're telling me. So it definitely could be a contender. Yeah,
but some odd reason we never got it here. I mean, that would be like an easy cash cow to bring it here. So I don't know why they never did that, but we're getting an action RPG based off of it. And actually, from what I heard, they kicked Platinum Games off of the development, and they're getting someone else now for it. So it sounds like there's some problems going on right now with the game. So I would kind of keep up with it. If you're interested in the game, I would keep up with it and just make sure the development is okay for it.
Yeah. It looks like, just to kind of like summarize this, to me personally, there's not a lot of excitement coming this year for our RPGs in particular. Aside from, I mean, you got Trails of Cold Steel 3, and then you got those other ones coming out, I'm assuming re-releases. And then we got Fire Emblem, And then we have, the Final Fantasy games coming out, which is pretty big. But I think that probably for new RPGs that are coming out this year, at least from like our sensibilities with this, I think we already probably experienced probably the game that I'll get the most enjoyment out of, Kingdom Hearts 3. At least for new games, right? There's a lot of re-releases of some really great games, but I don't know, man. It doesn't look like a killer year this year, unfortunately. I mean, besides for re-releases, there's a lot of great re-releases coming out this year that'll kind of keep our appetite at bay.
I think there's one slight correction I need to make.
Uh-oh.
On Left Alive, it looks like in Japan it's coming out the date I mentioned, but it looks like it's coming out looks like March 5th for us. So February 28th for Japan and March 5th for us. So it's about 5-day difference, but still.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, there you go. There's a correction. I mean, I guess if we want to be technicality here, Dante also said Pokemon Crystal Clear lets you tackle Crystal version's gems leaders in any order. So that kind of is an open world type structure.
I think that's a hacked ROM.
Oh, then there you go. See, I didn't keep up with the games later in the series, so I was just like, I never heard of that one, but
cool concept. Kind of wonder how it works. I wonder if
I actually kind of want to look this up real quick.
I wonder if you can expand on that, Dante. Did they have it so the gym leader's difficulty increases each time you beat one, or is it like the 8th gym leader is still the 8th gym leader difficulty? And like their difficulty is the same. It's just you found a way to let you go wherever you want.
Yeah, like how do you get there? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I didn't play Crystal, so I own Crystal. What?
You never played it?
Oh, I actually own a lot of Pokemon games back there. I'm serious when I say that I've tried to get back into the series, and it just doesn't hit me in the same way it did when Blue came out.
So you played it like briefly, you just didn't like get wrapped up in it.
Yeah, because they have different stories in them, which helps make things interesting. But the concept is, when you get down to it, the concept still feels the same. Go catch these Pokemon.
Crystal largely is like very, very similar to Blue and Red. Like it's just, there's another continent. They added like 100 more Pokemon and you do the same thing. Like in between, there's a little bit of differences, but like all in all, like a very similar game. It's kind of like, hey, you want to do this again with like a different wrapper? When I was a kid, I was like, yes, I do.
I say that
I had no problem with it.
I say that purely as someone who's very casual on it. I know there's some major differences with each game that make them each worthwhile to play. Just the core of it, I just don't feel like doing over again, which is catching all the Pokemon in the field. Because I caught all 151. I even went to Toys R Us as a kid and downloaded Mew onto my Game Boy. That was an interesting night. But that I did enjoy doing that. But Dante did confirm that the gym trainers scale as you beat each one. So that's cool. I think a concept like that in the 2019 version would be really cool. Me as an adult, I don't know how well that would resonate with children, but me personally, I think it would be an interesting way to do Pokemon.
That would be kind of interesting as far as people that like to do speedruns too, because you could, I would imagine that certain bosses are going to be, there's going to be a particular order that's going to be the easiest to beat the game, right? And like you would have to test the game out in a variety of different ways, and it could add a lot of strategy to your playthrough that's not present currently. So that would be really, really cool to have an official release with that feature in there. That'd be really, really cool.
Yeah, I'd be into that.
But yeah, that's 2019 RPGs. There's some good ones coming out. All in all, Looks like more remasters of prior games that are kind of exciting to play this year, unless we have some surprise announcements that have yet to be revealed. But yeah, not a terrible year, but not the best either.
It is good to know that my wallet will not get too much damage this month, at least.
I think Lane said kind of my thoughts. I think it was Lane. He said that this 2019 might be a good year to go through some back catalog of games that he never got around to. And, that's a good way of looking at it.
That is true. I mean, I do have other action adventure games, non-RPG games coming out. But that if we talked about those, we would be doubling the size of this podcast. But yeah, like I said, thanks again, Matt, for the Left Alive. I completely forgot that game was a thing, but I was really excited for it.
Yep.
So all right. I got that on my radar now.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and move on though to our next topic, because we got to keep this thing moving here. Let's get the window up. So Xbox Live apparently is going to be on the Nintendo Switch. This is from an article I read on GameSpot. I'm not sure if they're the first ones to report on it, but Microsoft apparently has plans to bring Xbox Live to Nintendo Switch, iOS, and Android, with more details coming in a GDC talk in March. And I just read that directly from this article titled "Why Xbox Live on Nintendo Switch Isn't a Big Surprise" from GameSpot. So let me go to the actual article here and see if there was anything I missed here. But yeah, so there's going to be a presentation at GDC March 18th to the 22nd, which they're going to give more information on. But when I first saw this was really, really surprising to me, because what's up?
Do you have Halo for Nintendo?
That's like the first thing I thought of was like, so wait, like, are they going to put like Xbox like exclusive games? Like, am I going to be able to stream that on the Switch, or are they going to have like Switch versions of older games? Like, is it, or like, how is this going to work? Because to me, like,
it's clearly going to be the Xbox Live service that is it's likely going to cloud stream from your Switch. So likely you're going, if I had to guess, you're likely going to have to always be online.
Oh, sure.
To play it.
But I've seen a lot of people speculate that this was a good idea because Nintendo's current online service, while appealing to some people, is not the best it could be. And honestly, some of the other live services like Xbox or Microsoft's with Xbox is a lot more current generation like features, right? And the fact that like Microsoft would be willing to just put this on the Switch and other devices really makes sense, so that like Nintendo doesn't have to I don't want to say they're not going to develop their own online service, but this would just add a lot of features that I think people want. Like, I would assume like you'd have the party voice chat through the native app. You'd have the profiles with like the various like sharing of information and screens and gameplay. The ability to go back and play prior Xbox games. Like, I'm assuming like all that, like it's going to be like the standard like gold membership Xbox Live. So that would be really, really cool.
I really like the idea of pulling my iPad out, pulling like a wireless controller to plug into it, and then playing games from the Xbox Live store.
That'd be really, really cool.
That just like expanded so much in terms like the Switch and the iOS and the Android and what they can do.
I mean, I would like to play Knights of the Old Republic on the Switch. Like, that would be kind of cool.
I mean, you can play Knights of the Old Republic on iOS and Android, but you can't play 2. Can't play KOTOR 2 on it.
Yeah. So initially I was pretty surprised though, because usually Nintendo does what's best for them in all situations, and they don't care really about other people or other companies. And I know this would be good for Nintendo in the short term, but it seems to me that Microsoft is kind of looking at this like, hey, we've been doing this hardware thing for a while. Like, we've done pretty good in the past, but we're really struggling now. We think the future is streaming. they're trying to make a play to be the next Netflix for gaming, right? They want to be first at that. That makes it successful. That like, they are the thing you go to. So even like people that don't have enough money to buy an Xbox One can, play on their smartphone, because everyone has a smartphone these days, and they can stream that. Or if you do have a Switch, you can play it on your Switch because the Switch is so popular. And if they could really like section off that market and become the Netflix for gaming, and like that it is like the thing to do, or the thing to buy, and be like that one place you do it at, and they do it well. I mean, that would be good for Microsoft. That'd be really, really good. And I'm looking at it like, Nintendo, are you really wanting that to happen on your platform? But I guess they can't really, like, it's not that big of a deal. All they stand to do is make money off of it.
It's a very obscure move. It's a very odd move, very unexpected move. But I think in the end, it's going to be a brilliant one, because what they want to do is get you on that Xbox Live. And if they expand it to different devices, so they get it on the PC, they get it on the iOS, they get it on the Android, they get it on the Switch, that's 4 additional platforms people are motivated to get on your $50 a year service for.
Mm-hmm.
And they get on that and they start playing games on it. This is just more money for Microsoft.
Well, think about it this way too. This just occurred to me.
With little to no risk on top of that.
Currently, right now, there's no real benefit to companies coming out with an exclusive game for Microsoft, for an Xbox console, right? Like, because the PS4, there's so many, units sold. The Switch is real popular. Like, why would you just have like a third-party title exclusive to Xbox, unless Microsoft is paying you a lot of money, or you have some other deal worked out? Maybe you barely have to give Microsoft a cut of anything, or like some other tweak in the contract or rules that make it very advantageous for you. Otherwise, it's not very advantageous. It just isn't. The Xbox One is not sold very well compared to prior generations. The Xbox console. Now, if you are a third party and you know that you could put your game on the Xbox, whatever version this is, Xbox One or the next Xbox, but you know that your game would also be able to be bought and played, or at least streamed, on people that have a Switch, people that have an Android or a tablet, or who knows what else. Like, that opens up a whole new ball game for you, and you're not technically going through these other companies, right? So you're only, whatever deal you strike with Microsoft is kind of like, that's the deal. You're not having to negotiate with Nintendo. You're not having to negotiate with the Google Play Store or like Apple. Like everything is just through Microsoft. It simplifies the process, and if you can just get a good deal that one time, like, it'll be good all day. I mean, that's actually a really smart move.
I had to look it up to make sure, but I can already think of one game I would want to play on these portable devices.
What's that?
And it'd be Fable 2.
That would be really, really cool. I didn't even think about that.
I like that game. Yeah. I was okay with 1, and I did not like 3, but I thought 2 was great. I thought they worked out a lot of things I didn't like about 1 and made it better in 2.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Xbox has a lot of like really good games in their history. It's just, they haven't been particularly competitive this generation, so it's been pretty slim pickings from what I've seen. I'm sure there's some gems out there that like didn't really get much press, but
yeah, I'm looking through it right now. And you RPG wise, you're looking at Fable 1 and 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
You are Halo series of not RPG. There's Blue Dragon, which was a Miss Walker game.
Yeah, but like, what about like current?
There's Magna Carta 2, Eternal Sun. But you can play that portable. There is. That's about everything I have up there.
I mean, you could play Lost Odyssey on
Lost Odyssey, yeah, that too.
You could play that on your Switch, but I mean, so their back catalog has a lot of great games, which would be really cool to be able to play on all these devices. But I mean, like, for current generation games, like, I'm not sure, like, really they really have an outstanding lot of games, and so I mean, by offering all this back catalog potentially. We haven't gotten that verified, but potentially on these other systems streaming, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I'd be excited to. They did a HD remaster of Beyond Good and Evil. I'd love to see that on my Switch or tablet, or I would like to see what was it? Castlevania Symphony of the Night, the HD remaster that came out on the 360. That can be ported to the tablet and the Switch. I know you can get it on PS4, but not portable. So
yeah. So I don't know. It's been suggested that Microsoft approached Sony about this as well, and Sony's kind of giving them a cold shoulder right now, understandably, because Sony's on the top of the world in the console market. But this could be really, really big for Microsoft, at least in gaming, if they can make this work.
I think Fear was only on Microsoft consoles. I'm looking behind myself here just to make sure. No, I'm wrong. It was on games were on PlayStation 3 also.
Yeah.
Fear series.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're gonna get some more information on specifically what this means. And later months, March 18th through the 22nd. And we'll have to find out exactly what's going on here, but
it's an outstanding move. I hope it works out well.
Yeah. Well, when I first saw this though, I thought this was either a hoax or like some kind of like 4chan leak or something. And I was like, okay, this is clearly fake, but, nope, it's real. So
we're getting closer to, back in my retail days, I actually did get someone asking me if they, God, that's so long, 15 years ago, but it's like, do you have Donkey Kong for Xbox? A joke, something that would sound really silly back then, but today could be a possibility.
Yeah, I think I never even worked at like a game store, and I used to hear stuff like that all the time. I remember I've heard twice, like the clerk at like a GameStop trying to explain to like an 8-year-old kid that, you could not get Halo on a PlayStation, like, and this is like, but why? And it's like, well, no, like Microsoft owns, but why? And he's like pulling his hair out, like it's just not going to happen. So
I remember pranking my friends who worked there also at the time, and I used to just call asking about Seinfeld for Super Nintendo.
Obviously, he knew it was you.
Not the first time.
That's pretty funny though.
Sounds like something that could be real, but it's not.
Yeah.
Because they have Home Improvement for Super Nintendo. Why can't they have Seinfeld for Super Nintendo?
I did not know that was for the Super Nintendo, but that sounds like an awful game.
It is. You have your Tim the Toolman Taylor. You have a nail gun and you're fighting dinosaurs.
Hold on, I'm looking this up.
The context of it is he's in his movie. He's like in his TV studio. He's going like the different parts of it, but for some reason it's a platformer and you're shooting things with a nail gun.
I'm playing some video now. They just got this. This looks stupid. He's just like running around with this like giant nail gun.
Mm-hmm.
Or oh my god! Or I guess that's not a nail gun. I don't know what that is.
Or it's something. It's some form of projectile he shoots, if I remember.
Who thought this was a good idea? Okay, anyways, let's get back on track.
I don't know. I don't know what the mindset of that time was.
Like, who greenlighted that project? Anyways. All right. Where were we? Okay, so cool. Xbox Live coming to the Switch. Let's move on, though. We have our final topic. We have the news that Square Enix is going to possibly be bringing the Secret of Mana collection to the West. So there was a collection that was initially released in Japan in 2017 on the Nintendo Switch, and apparently there's been some indications that this is going to be released in Europe, which likely means it's going to come here as well. So we're looking at what we know as Mystic Quest, Final Fantasy Adventure, and Secret of Mana. So that's cool.
Cool. What I do wonder, I didn't look it up before then. What version of Adventure of Mana do they? The three games they have is Adventure of Mana, which is technically Seiken Densetsu 1, and then Secret of Mana, which is Seiken Densetsu 2, and then 3 never got released out of Japan, so it's just Seiken Densetsu 3. But the versions, I know for Secret of Mana, they're just going to use the Super Nintendo one. But the first one, I never looked at which one it is, because there's the Game Boy version.
That's the only one I've played.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one I've beaten. They did a kind of remake for the Game Boy Advance. They called it something else though, but it was essentially the same game with some things changed around. Like first off, you could be like a male or female hero, which is cool. That's a version I'd like to try again. But they released a 3D version that's similar to the 3D remake of Secret of Mana that came out last year. Yeah. And that you can play for the Vita, and I think it's for Vita, PC, and iOS/Android. Yeah. So which one is it? Or is there or is there a version I'm not aware of?
I'd have to do some more research to see what version it is. I just assumed that it would be the most ideal version, but I guess that's quite the assumption. Let's see if I can.
The 2 collection.
But I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm kind of interested in this just to see what they do with it. If they're straight ports, or if they like how much they touch these games up. But in particular, I was not necessarily a fan of any of these games. Secret of Mana was probably the most enjoyable one out of that. And I'm honestly not a huge Secret of Mana fan. I enjoy the artwork, I enjoy the music, but I felt like the story was just kind of not that exciting, and the gameplay was really frustrating at times. You get stuck in like really small corners, and like you wouldn't be able to move because like the enemy just keeps stunning you, and like it's just extremely frustrating for me to play. But I realize it's a classic, so that's probably the best one off there. Mystic Quest, I didn't think was particularly a great game, and Final Fantasy.
You can slam your head on the controller and just rub your face all against it, and you'll beat Mystic Quest just fine.
Yeah, it was made for like 2-year-olds.
It was made for stupid Americans, is who it was made.
Yeah, and he's not joking. That's actually was their mentality with that. And then Final Fantasy Adventure, like I said, I played the Game Boy version. I liked it for being on Game Boy, but you know, it wasn't anything for me to get like super excited about. So, you know, I'm kind of mixed feelings about this. I do think it's worth picking up because, you know, getting all 3 of these games, I'm sure it'll be reasonably priced. That could be a good pickup, but I don't know. Out of those 3, what do you think? Secret of Mana is probably the most exciting.
I have a lot of fond memories of Adventure of Mana. I'm looking it up now. It's the original Game Boy version.
How do you feel about that?
I the game, so I will probably like this one just fine. Yeah, the second game is just a 4x3 port of the Super Nintendo game. So I guess you can't go wrong with that. It looks like the same deal for the third game. It's just these are just straight out ports. 4x3. I don't think there's any much HD remaster involvement with them. I mean, obviously you have to upscale the Game Boy one a little bit, but that seems to be the deal with it.
Yeah, then we got Seiken Densetsu 3, which is I said obviously unavailable unofficially in English for years. Does that get you excited?
That I played the MU. That was actually one of the first translated ROMs that came out.
Mm-hmm.
Was that in Final Fantasy V?
I guess I kind of skipped that one. So
I played it way back then. I haven't played it again since, but it was like early 2000s. I played it when like the SNES emulator was a thing.
mm.
It's still kind of a thing. There's better ones, but I liked it. It was a good game. I think I have to replay it again to see how I really feel about it now as a 30-year-old man. But back then, I really enjoyed it. Adventure of Mana, I loved also. The nostalgic side of me likes that this version came out. I do think they would have benefit from putting like the Game Boy version in, so maybe. But then again, that game is very different from like it's like it feels some like a reimagining of Adventure of Mana.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember what that one was called. The DBA Mana game, Sword of Mana. That's what they call it.
Yeah. So, anyways, I mean, that's out there for y'all. If that's something that you're interested in, we don't really have a release date at this point in time, but it looks like it most likely will come over here. I mean, it says
we don't even have a confirmation.
Yeah,
that it's getting released. We just have trademarks right now.
Well, I mean, given the fact that it wouldn't be that difficult to do, like I think that's pretty telling. I mean, I don't know why they would do that, especially since they have a Japanese version that's already been released for Nintendo in Japan. I don't see why they wouldn't just release that in the West, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think it's pretty telling.
I think it's mostly because you do have to actually look the third game.
Yeah.
The first two you can
I think
that from their original game.
Sure.
And then the third game you'll actually have to get a team in and translate that.
Which I don't think it would be that difficult. And honestly, that would probably be the biggest draw. And the article that I was reading from, this one's from thegamer.com, they were kind of speculating that one of the reasons probably that this would be coming to the West, besides the things that we just talked about, was the fact that like Octopath Traveler has sold crazy well. And Octopath Traveler is a very retro in its design philosophy and look. So, I mean, that's really kind of showing that there's like a hunger and a thirst for those types of games, and you can make a lot of money off those games. So, I definitely agree with that. I don't see any reason why this wouldn't.
I always kind of threw Seiken Densetsu 3, Square Enix's Mother 3. It's like they have every reason to release it, and there's every reason why it would sell well, but for some reason they don't.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to correct that here.
Hopefully. So, I would like to see that happen. I will still buy this just for Adventure of Mana. Playing through the third Seiken Densetsu game. I mean, I like Secret of Mana. I enjoyed the game, but I definitely don't I don't have a certain fondness for it, for a lot of people do. Like, I don't even really care too much for the soundtrack. There's some good bits in it, but like some themes I found really annoying. If anything, like I'm not like the boss fight theme starts getting good a little ways in. You first have that like annoying like
oh my god, it just makes you want to hang yourself. Yeah.
And then you actually get to a good part of the theme where it's like, why don't they just kind of like jump into that? But I mean, I know I'm in the minority on that one, but I think this would be a great collection if it ever comes out here.
Yeah. The composer for Secret of Mana, the original SNES version, that individual went on to go form a company that created the Shadow Hearts series. So definitely have some fondness there because I really like that series. But yeah, I mean, I do see what you're saying, that the soundtrack's kind of hit or miss, but I do think overall the soundtrack's really, really good. And like I said, the art style is really, really nice looking for SNES era pixel art. I think it's really, really polished and just really well done. But yeah, definitely a frustrating game for me to play. So I'm not the biggest fan, but depending on the price point, I might pick this up. We'll see.
I think it'll probably, if I had to guess, probably be like a $40 to $50 game from Square Enix.
Yeah, you are getting 3 games, and one of them is supposed to be, this thing that nobody's played, but a lot of people have played the fan translation. So, uh, when they talk about that stuff, though, they're like, "Oh, it's never been released in the West." That reminds me of when like Square Enix finally released like, Final Fantasy 3, like the Nintendo version in the West, and the Square Enix was doing like all this like promotion on that game as if like this is the last Final Fantasy, the one you've never experienced. And I'm sitting here thinking like, I played that game several times already.
I am glad
Like
we got the 3D version of
Final
Final
Fantasy
Fantasy
3.
3. I'm glad we got
Yeah.
some form of it,
Hmm.
but I really wish they brought out that. I'm not sure if it even came out in Japan, but
Hmm.
I know they had the assets for it. At
Hmm.
least at the time, it was.
Yeah.
There was a Wonder Swan version that used like a graphical style
Mm.
similar to
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 1 and 2 for the Game Boy Advance.
Hmm.
And I think something like that, I would have liked to see Final Fantasy 3 get released, at least on GBA, in that type of graphical style. I would like the people, as good as the remake for 3 was, I'd still like for people to experience it in a more genuine way, with like
Yeah.
the 4 Onion Knights, in that fashion. I think that's something they should have done. I mean, we're obviously way point that past in history, that part of history, but it's just in
Well, wait.
hindsight that should.
Yeah, I would say if you go back and play the original NES version, obviously, you'll have to get a English translation if you don't speak the language. But like from a graphical and presentational standpoint, like that game is actually really, really impressive looking. I mean, it does a lot of special effects that surprise me for an NES. And then like even when you're in the overworld, like it's got like the airship that'll fly by in the sky and everything, and like you have to go in the beginning of the game explode the rock and just to keep progressing and everything. It's definitely like the most advanced Final Fantasy of those 3 on the NES, and like I'm like really impressed with what they were capable of doing on that game. And from what I understand, they had to kind of simplify the story a lot because man, they filled like every square centimeter of possible like space for that cartridge with Final Fantasy 3, just with the graphics and the music, and just really just trying to like do something that was surpassed the last 2. So I think it's really a relevant game for like historical purposes. But yeah, you are right. Like it has aged a lot, and it might be a little frustrating to play if you go back and play that original one. But it's good game.
It's interesting. It's part of that NES trio type of trend that kind of happened. It's really weird. Um, all right, so like you have like Final Fantasy 1, which was like the classic, the first one to come out. And
Hmm.
then you had Final Fantasy 2, which was definitely a black sheep type game that strayed away from a lot of elements of the first game, despite it not being considered a horrible game. And then the third game took everything that worked about 1 and made it better. And then you have like Zelda, um, where Zelda 1 set the foundation, and then 2 was a real black sheep game. Like it
Hmm.
was a good game, but like it was nothing like the game before. And then Zelda 3 took everything that worked in Zelda 1 and made it better. And then Mario, for one more example. Well, I'll do 2 more examples. Mario 1 set the foundation.
Hmm.
Mario 2, not the version we got, but the Lost Levels type of deal. Mario 2
Right.
was the black sheep because of its insane difficulty. And then Mario 3 took everything that was great about 1 and made it better.
Hmm.
Castlevania, NES, set the foundation. Castlevania 2 went off the rails with its RPG elements and very obscure sense of direction. And then 3 it took 1 and made everything better. So there was this time where developers thought, okay, to make a sequel, we have to make things completely different. We don't want people to feel like they played the first game. Then I guess like down the line they figure out it's like people do want the first game, but they just want it better
Yeah.
than that. And
Well,
that's
I mean, if you think
a little
about it,
history lesson.
Yeah, a lot of games follow that route, even going forward. I mean, if you want to look at, and I think a lot of it has to do with maybe the console it was released on. So, if we stick with the Final Fantasy series, like, look, Final Fantasy VII came out on the PlayStation, first game on the PlayStation. It was really, really good. Final Fantasy VIII came out. They experimented a lot, kind of went off the rails, in my opinion. But by the time Final Fantasy IX came out, they kind of had things squared away. Now I know there was different teams working on this and everything, but obviously, from a performance and visual standpoint, obviously the games continued in that direction, and so I mean it's interesting to kind of look at the cycle of how they develop these games from a historical perspective. It's pretty interesting and unique.
Yeah, it's just very weird on the observation level how similar the approach was to all these like trilogies of games.
Yeah, for sure. But anyways, so that's our topics for this week. Normally we would go through the YouTube comments. However, since we started our since we started our Discord server, there's been a lot of just chat in the Discord server about different games and what we could talk about on the podcast. And we actually had some really cool suggestions or episodes that we are going to get to, but most of them were kind of like, they weren't bite-sized suggestions. They were like entire episode length topics, or just ones that would take some thought on our part. And we want to make sure that we give you all some good answers for those questions. So we're going to be bringing those out occasionally every week, bring out maybe one or two. This week we brought out Lane's. I'd be interested in hearing what you guys' most anticipated games of the year are. So going forward, we'll keep going through this and picking which ones we think would work best. So either in the YouTube comments, leave your thoughts, questions, whatever, and we'll talk about it on the next podcast, or go into Discord and leave that in there. We'll have the link to the Discord server in the description, so that way you can join us and chat about games throughout the week. But next week we are going to be doing the Kingdom Hearts 3 spoiler discussion. So I would definitely leave your spoiler thoughts either in the comments here on YouTube, or just go to our Discord server and leave them there, and we'll talk about all that next week. But that's all we got for this week, guys. So really appreciate you checking us out. Thanks to the people in the chat for sticking with us throughout this game or episode, and we will catch you all next week. Take it easy, guys.
Take care.